Welcome to YogiViews, where my guest is yoga itself, through interviewing those who practice it, teach it, sell it, or simply love it. I'm Antonio Saucis. While yoga has been simply passed from generation to generation for thousands of years, since coming to the West, it's become a multi-billion-dollar business. How do making money and spirituality combine in our modern world? How can a business model apply to selling something that we all already have within us? Does it work? To answer some of these questions, I invited today the owner of the Yoga Tree Studios in San Francisco, Tim Dale. Welcome, Tim.
Thank you, Antonio. It's great to be here.
Likewise. Good to have you.
Thank you.
Tim Dale, for whom mindfulness and eating well has always been important, pioneered in the natural foods restaurant business, having opened and operated many of San Francisco's most popular restaurants and nightclubs. These include Le Colonial, 11, Fumé, Undici, Eddie Jack's, the DNA Lounge, the Tap Room Bar, and the Up and Down Club. Then he took a sabbatical from the restaurant and nightclub business and took up yoga. His sharp business eye noticed a gap in the market for a yoga studio that would be a space for great teachers to teach their passion without having to fit into the singular teaching style offered at a certain yoga studio. That is why, together with his partner Tara Dale, he opened the first Yoga Tree in October of 1999, and today Yoga Tree has 9 yoga studios across the San Francisco Bay Area. Tim, my first question to you is one I like to know from all our guests. How did yoga happen for you? What was your first experience with yoga?
Oh, great question. Thank you. Well, as a kid, I grew up in a family where my father was in the show business, and he was a gymnast. So I had my headstand down when I was like about 5 years old. And I got to watch my father doing his flip-flops and acrobatics and all that kind of stuff. And in my teen years, through my older brothers and sisters, became exposed to yoga in America and where it came in. And that was, pretty profound movement in the 70s. Later, pursued other sports and martial arts and activities, and became a really avid mountaineering and cycling and skiing and all those awesome sports. And as I grew into my 30s, I started to feel beaten up and the aches and pains of all those extreme sports that I was doing. So took on yoga as sort of a system of cross-training, and it was amazing what it did for me. I mean, I was only practicing for 2-3 months, and I realized, I became a better skier again. I hadn't been that good of a rollerblader since I was in my 20s, and I was in my late 30s. And it was just great how the yoga practice was great for all my other sports and my cross training. Okay, but along with it, it came the mindfulness as well. I also realized that I was a better business person. I was making better decisions. I was clear in thought. I've always, experienced a little ADD before they even knew what ADD was. And I realized that through yoga, I just had better focus and better attention, and it just improved all parts of my life. It was better relationships. I was better making smart decisions, better eating habits. So that was the power of yoga. Mm-hmm.
Now you're mentioning on one hand the body, on the other hand the mindfulness aspect, and as we know, yoga also has this spiritual side. Mm-hmm. Did you already have some spirituality? How did that come into the picture?
Well, I have always embraced spirituality. I'd always been a little bit of a meditator and just a mindfulness practice, and always enjoyed reading about Buddhism and visiting doing walking meditation with Thich Nhat Hanh and traveling to different temples and whatnot. But it was profound how the yoga deepened my meditation practice as well. There's no doubt about that. Just stillness and motion.
Yeah, yeah. Now, it's interesting that, as I was saying in the introduction, the fact of selling yoga or having yoga be a business is rather a Western approach, because even in India they would collect donations and things to still make the ashram happen, it became more of a business as it came here. And some people agree with it and love it, some people rejected it a bit. How did this work for you? Did you feel any friction between the two concepts or not?
Not at all. Not at all. Because, in fact, the other way around. This is where what was my calling. Because I've always done a great job of combining, my passion and my belief system and make it into a revenue stream. Back when I had my restaurants and nightclubs, it really wasn't when I started my first restaurants and nightclubs, it wasn't about starting a business. It was about getting involved in something that I was really passionate about. I was really excited, and I loved supporting the musicians and the music, and I believed in organic, natural foods. So I had an easy time starting a business that way and trying to figure out how to as my dad told me, first pursue your passion and then figure out how to make a buck. And so, the other thing is that's great for my calling is that the thing I always tell yoga teachers that, if you want to be a yoga teacher, don't open up a yoga studio. And I see it time and time again. I mean, I get calls all the time from yogis that opened up a studio and now they got to figure out how to be a business person. Exactly. Whereas, you could leave that to someone like myself. It comes pretty easily. I know how to put a business together. I know how to roll out a model and create something that works. So I let the teachers teach, which is the beautiful thing.
Yeah, yeah. And you're right that in this moment it's very interesting because there's a lot of yoga studios and a lot of teachers think that way. Tim, now you were coming from the restaurant business, the nightclub business. Is the yoga business very different, very similar to?
I can draw tons of parallel lines. It's amazing the similarities between, especially the way I do business. Because for me, it's a very aesthetic, very much into the vibration. When I designed my restaurants, I brought in all the senses. I wanted to make sure that the taste buds obviously were activated, but also the sight and the aesthetics of the room and the colors and the lighting and the sound. All those were very important part of the experience for me when I had my restaurants and nightclubs. And it's also a very important part of the experience in my yoga studios. I like to think that one of the reasons that motivated me to get into the yoga business in the first place was back in the 90s. I was going to these yoga studios which were a little less than hygienic, spaces where they had a little bit to be desired, and I thought that I could make a contribution to yoga in America by bringing in aesthetics and bringing in all the senses. And and make it something that is a spa type really enjoyable experience for everybody.
Now, in terms of the operations and in terms of the management, they are also similar as well?
There's customer service. There's the yoga teachers are kind of like my chefs, and they kind of act the same too.
How so?
Well, they're really into what they do, and they do it very passionately. you know. And just like I never used to try to tell a chef what to cook, you know, or his recipes and stuff like that. I try to guide him a little bit and make sure that it was something that people wanted. I kind of do the same thing with the yoga teachers. I look at more, you know, where they've been and what training they'd have and what kind of experience they have to bring, you know, to the world, and make sure that they're, you know, really ethically straight and kind of they've got really powerful teachings and they're senior teachers and things like that. It's and then I basically cut them loose and I give them free rein to be able to orchestrate and teach a class, just the way, because I feel as though if they're doing it that way, they're doing it with the most amount of passion. They're doing it with the way that people will receive it the best. You know, I mean, if you're doing something that comes right from your heart and that you believe in, that's what you're going to be really good at.
Yeah.
So
and
I
that's
support
also
that.
what people want to see, and people want to be guided by people that are that passionate. Mm-hmm. Now, it's, one of the things that is common, particularly in the United States, is that perhaps more spiritually rooted teachers, older teachers with more heavy on tradition, are usually not the most popular. Where more the younger teachers with some more power style and things like that pack the classes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How do you select your teachers?
They do need to be popular and they need to be well received. You know, obviously this is a business and I have to pay the rent and I got to try to get as many people through the doors as I can. But I also make sure that they've got the right amount of training, you know, because as far as I'm concerned, this 200-hour teacher training program, come on. Yeah. You don't learn how to do anything in 200 hours. No. No. And so, you know, they have to have more like 1,500 at least, or 1,000 hour. And most of our teachers have been teaching yoga for 10, 20 years. And that is really important to us because those are the people that I think, you know, at that point they know what they're talking about, mm-hmm. right? A lot of our teachers are published. They're very well read. They, you know, they're interesting people. So people, but it's kind of a combination. You know, it's not always a popularity contest, mm-hmm. because some of those teachers they just, you know, they don't have the depth. But it's also, you know, you got to get people on the mat. And, you know, because really, something I've witnessed over the last 15 years is that the transformation happens. You might be showing up to do yoga because, you know, you want to have a tighter ass or something like that. Yeah. But over the years of doing the practice, the transformation happens. Your focus changes, your priorities change, you shift. Mm-hmm. So I don't really need to be too much of a policeman. I think that yoga itself is really, you know, takes care of itself.
Yes, yeah. But of course, you have, as you were saying, you have to make ends meet and pay the rent, and so there has to be some combination, some balance.
It's a balance.
Yeah. Now, yoga is said to be a multi-billion-dollar business. Are you making billions?
I haven't seen those yet. Yeah. Let me know. I've created a successful model. I've scaled it out, and I feel for the independent studio operator because there's not a lot, you know, per studio. I kind of add them up over the studios, and then I also am able to scale out my management cost. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm able to give teachers more classes to teach so that they can actually make a livelihood out of it. And because of the fact that we're so independently owned just by, you know, my partner Tara and I, we're able to be very generous to the teachers. We don't have, you know, a lot of debt, and we try to just, you know, make sure to keep it kind of lean and mean. Mm-hmm. And keep a pretty tight business model. You know?
Now, it's true what you were saying that there's yoga studios everywhere, because in a way, anybody who does not want to work for corporate America anymore, or they want to change career, how about I become a yoga teacher?
Right.
And why don't I open a studio?
There you go.
Now,
Can't remember if I answered
does
that one.
demand match?
Good question. It kind of does, you know, for a company like ours that is really sought after, and everybody wants to teach yoga tree, you know, because they know that we bring it and we promote, and we've got a big following, and we have a huge student body, and we pay our teachers well, so we're sought after by the yoga teachers. But what's really interesting is, you know, 15 years ago when I started this business, you'd walk into the class and you'd say, you know, who's here for the first time, or who's a beginner, you know, and more than half the hands in the class would go up, okay? Now, it's not quite as many hands of beginners, but we have an incredible abundance of people that are pursuing more advanced studies. We have people that are level 3 practice, or they're working on their 500-hour certificate. And one of the reasons I think Yoga Tree has been so successful in the latest few years is because we bring a lot of senior teachers that are traveling from around the world and around the country through San Francisco to Yoga Tree to do their teacher trainings and do workshops and do book signings and whatnot. And these teachers are really sought after by the more advanced practitioners.
Why do you think that, because you have been close to, you were telling me about your father and yourself doing all this sports. Why do you think yoga has become so popular?
It's kind of an antidote for modern society. I mean, people have a lot more free time on their hands. People, you know, they spend a lot more time on their computers and driving and in stressful situations. And that's, you know, yoga's great for all that stuff. You know, it's a great, you know, way to check into yourself. And people don't get an opportunity to do that. You know, also, you know, the tender loving care that we all need. Well, a lot of it takes place right in the yoga room. I mean, it's, you know, it's no surprise that a lot of practitioners fall in love with their yoga teacher, you know, because they go into class and they got somebody talking nice and soft to them, giving them a couple nice adjustments, you know, working them, helping them work on some of the things they're trying to work out in their lives. And it's you know, it's really a great complement to our modern life with all the hustle and the.
Yeah, and of course, usually when a big movement develops in societies, because it's fulfilling some sort of need.
I remember after like 9/11, you know, oh my goodness, my yoga classes, there was all the dot bomb years ago, remember? Well, you know, I had people coming to my door and it's like, I have $20 left in my pocket. I want to do a yoga class. You know, I mean, they just really needed it.
Yes, exactly. And you also have a teacher training actually that you offer there. What prompted you to form more yoga teachers?
Well, the demand. You know, I started it out because basically I had the talent to do it. I had, you know, the dean of our teacher training program, Darren Main, came to us really and said he wanted to, because we were doing some trainings and we were watching some of the other big teachers in the country that were doing these trainings, and they were very successful. And so we kind of looked around our staff and our faculty, and we sort of put the puzzle together. And the first couple, quite honestly, you know, there was a lot of bumps in the road. But after we worked out the curriculum and we worked out exactly the smoothest and best way to do it with the best teachers we could find in the Bay Area. It really excelled. And then, you know, we still sell out pretty much every one that we put on, and it's really sought after. The YogiTree name it's become a pretty strong brand, which is something I'm really proud of, because we've been able to put these teacher trainings together that are very potent.
Mm-hmm. Do you have plans to open in other states?
No, not really. I mean, we'll see. I could be convinced, and you never know what. This year, I'm just really happy to be with San Francisco. I have a couple young children, and I have like a livelihood here in the city. I'm really not that fond of jumping on airplanes all the time. And so I'm really happy to just keep it in the Bay Area for now.
So there's a place where the business suits your lifestyle.
That's exactly.
Now, but coming from the nightclub business, I'm sure that there's been a shift in your lifestyle as well since owning a yoga studio, or not?
I took it down a notch. You know, the restaurant nightclub as I tell people, it's a young man's business.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
I had to be prepared to stay up till 4 in the morning and, you know, doing all that crazy stuff that goes along with the restaurants and the nightclubs, and it was awesome when I was in my 20s and 30s. But I realized a few years back that it was time to move on from that industry. If you look at the role model of the restaurateurs that have been in the business for 50 years, I don't want to look like that. Not that there's not a lot of great ones out there.
Do you miss it at all?
I do, but the yoga, I open up yoga studios now instead, because that sort of satiates that same creative.
Yeah, that thing in you. One of the things that is notorious in Western yoga is the presence of women in classes. That, as you know, for thousands of years, yoga was mainly for men. Women were not allowed to teach. They were not allowed to participate in the philosophical aspects of yoga. Since coming to the West, and through coming to the West, because Indra Devi was one of the first ones that brought yoga to the West. Why do you think so many women have embraced yoga versus men?
Well, it's a great question, and I think that's men's problem, you know, because yoga is for everybody, and it's not so much that women have found it; it's more that men haven't found it, you know. And I don't know if it's this machismo or maybe it's most, you know, you talk to men, you usually say, "Oh, I don't do yoga; I can't touch my toes," or something like that. It's like, well, that's, you know, exactly why you do the yoga. They think somebody else is going to be watching them in class, or they're self-conscious, or maybe they, I don't know. There's stereotypes that I think we're starting to attract more and more men into class, which is a beautiful thing. And I think that most of them, when they come, they find out, wow, this is for me. This does make, you know, a lot of the other things in my life better that's going on, and it's a great add-on.
And in fact, you've started a couple of years ago a men's school line, or a group of men practicing.
Thank you for your involvement in that.
Have you noticed any change in the body of students? Do you think that more men are coming because of seeing more men around, or no? Or
I am noticing more and more men are doing yoga every year.
Yes.
You know, so there is, and I think that it's going to keep going up a few notches every year. And we're doing our best to reach out to the other, to the what do we call it? I can't remember the word I use right now, but the other alternative groups that you don't normally see in yoga class, and doing our best to invite them into class. One of the big areas that we're really, not to change the subject, that we're really pursuing right now are teens. Our teen yoga programs are really exciting. We have a teen yoga ambassador program that's working for us really well, and we're bringing yoga into the high schools, and wow, it's really catching on. You know, now we're getting that generation, and they're coming up, And
Yeah.
when they start catching on to yoga, and they're loving it, especially, you can imagine women going through changes in their life, and you hear about all the struggles that they have. Well, yoga is great for them.
Yeah. Well, and it also is a bit of a double win, because on one hand you're benefiting the teens themselves, and on the other hand you're ensuring future clients in a way, which is not a bad idea. Future people that will come to the studio. And I have to say that I have had the opportunity to both attend and teach at your studios, and I think that it's a great thing you have done. It's a great model you have created, and I'm sure that you have added your grain of sand to the ocean of well-being in the world. So thank you very much.
It's people like yourself. I thank you very much for your participation at Yoga Tree. And the only reason we're successful is because of people like yourself and the community and everybody that kind of brings their grain of sand and puts it in, and we all we create this awesome community.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for coming, Tim, and for sharing your knowledge with us. And I look forward to perhaps having you again sometime in the show. But for now, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste. This concludes the first part of a two-part show where I'm interviewing Tim Dale, for whom mindfulness and eating well has always been important. He pioneered in the natural food restaurant business, having opened and operated many of San Francisco's most popular restaurants and nightclubs. These include Le Colonial, 11, Fumé, Undici, Eddie Jack's, the DNA Lounge, the Tap Room Bar, and the Up and Down Club. Then he took a sabbatical from the restaurant and nightclub business and took up yoga. His sharp business eye noticed a gap in the market for a yoga studio that would be a space for great teachers to teach their passion without having to fit into the singular teaching style offered at a regular yoga studio. That is why he, together with his partner Tara Dale, opened the first Yoga Tree in October of 1999. And today, Yoga Tree has 9 yoga studios across the San Francisco Bay Area. I hope you liked our show today. And if you care to let me know, shoot me an email at antonio@yogiviews.com. I look forward to seeing you the next time.